Hillary Clinton's campaign is looking forward to November despite the probe into her email set up as Secretary of State. My colleague Brett Baer sat down with the presumptive Democratic nominee just a short time ago and asked her about the investigation and the issues important to her campaign. Here's Brett.
Shannon, thank you. I'm at the Eisenhower Presidential Library in Abilene, Kansas, working on a project. We are fortunate enough to be joined tonight by Secretary Hillary Clinton, joining us from Chappaqua, New York. Madam Secretary, first of all, congratulations on clinching your party's nomination.
Thank you very much, Brett. I appreciate that.
You know, yours was obviously a historic campaign, but we should point out that Bernie Sanders was also a historic campaign. He got more votes than any Democratic socialist has ever got in American history. And it's telling about the Democratic Party, some people say. You know, when your husband ran, he ran a much different campaign as a centrist, as a new Democrat, as the third way. You know, he was credited with NAFTA and a balanced budget. He was and is a friend of Wall Street. So when you say he should be in charge of the economy, is he in tune with today's Democratic Party?
Well, let me make a couple of points about that, Brett. First, I applaud Senator Sanders' vigorous, determined campaign, and I think a lot of the issues he raised are clearly on the minds of Americans, and the campaign that we ran against one another was primarily about issues. We have a lot of the same goals, like making sure everybody has health care, but we have different approaches. So I think that our primary contest was good for the Democratic Party and good for America. And I do believe, based on historical evidence, that our economy does better when we have a Democrat in the White House. And for me, I want to bring what we have learned in the last 25 years to bear on making sure we have more good jobs with rising incomes. And that's going to be both unleashing the entrepreneurial spirit of America, supporting small businesses that are not being created and growing at the rate that we expect in our country. We've got to get back to investing in America, creating the kinds of investments that will produce good jobs and rising incomes in the future. So I think there are lessons to learn from what my husband did during his 8 years. And I think that President Obama doesn't get the credit he deserves for having to deal with a terrible financial crisis with the Great Recession when he got into office. So I'm going to be looking for good advice, and one of my best advisors about what we can do to really help people who feel left out and left behind will be my husband.
You have said that President Obama got the country out of an economic ditch, but if you look at the polls, the average of recent polls, the right direction, wrong direction, 65% of Americans say the country's headed in the wrong direction. So what specifically would you do differently with the economy than President Obama has done?
Well, I think that 76 months of job creation is a good start.
Well, it's just not different. I mean, what specifically would you do differently than the Obama administration?
Right. But I think what I want to establish is that we've gotten out of that deep ditch we were dropped into. It took a while because it was a pretty severe recession, and a lot of people haven't yet recovered to where they were before the recession. That's why I've said we need a big infrastructure plan. I don't, for the life of me, understand why today's Republican Party in Congress opposes the kind of investments in infrastructure that we've been doing literally from the beginning of the Republic. I want to have as big an infrastructure project as Dwight Eisenhower had when he did the interstate highways. Our roads, our bridges, our tunnels, our ports, our airports, our water systems. We have work to do. And it's good work that will put people back into the middle class, keep them there, and it will make us more competitive. I also want to do more to incentivize the return and growth of manufacturing jobs in America. And finally, we've got to combat climate change, and I think we do that with clean, renewable energy jobs. So I have a specific set of proposals that I think would make a big difference.
That will be different than the Obama administration. Now, let me just ask you a lightning round, couple of questions. You've been asked a lot about the email investigation, but I want to ask you about some specific things very quickly. One, you've tried to calm Democrats' fears that there isn't going to be another shoe dropping. What basis did you tell this radio station, 1070 Radio, on Friday, that there is absolutely no possibility of an indictment? Has anybody from the DOJ talked to you or your representatives?
I will repeat what I said. That is not going to happen. There is no basis for it, and I'm looking forward to this being wrapped up as soon as possible.
Has anybody from the FBI talked to you or your representatives?
Oh, I know that they've been interviewing a number of people, and I've told people to cooperate, and I'm looking forward to also participating. I've offered to do so since last August.
You have said, I'll talk to anybody anytime, but you didn't talk to the state IG, State Department IG, and neither did any of your aides. Why not, and would you talk to the Judicial Watch deposition that they're asking for?
Well, I'm not going to comment on ongoing litigation or make any legal points here. I will say with respect to the IG investigation, I have talked endlessly about the emails, and I testified, as you know, for 11 hours before the committee in the House, who had every opportunity to ask me a lot of questions, including about emails. So we had all this information in the public record. It would be the same as I would have said to anyone, and I think it was important to speak in the public, to release the emails, which I've called for, and I think as soon as I have a chance to speak with others, I will do so.
The State Department IG, though, wanted to talk to you, and you didn't want to do that.
It just didn't even, what they wanted to ask, we'd already talked about in the public arena. And, look, I think that report actually...
You said, Secretary Clinton,
I think that report actually supported what I have been saying for years. The rules were not clarified.
Well, you said hundreds of people knew about the private email, and they said...
The practice was used by other secretaries of state. I've said it was a mistake. I certainly wouldn't do it again. But I think that... it basically pointed out that the rules were not clarified, and that both before me and after me for a period of time, secretaries of state had the same practice.
Two more things quickly. Secretary Clinton, you said you sent or received nothing that was marked classified, but you did sign a non-disclosure agreement, an NDA, in 2009 that said markings don't matter, whether it's marked or unmarked. You remember signing that?
No, I do not, but the fact is nothing that I sent or received was marked classified, and nothing has been demonstrated to contradict that. So it is the fact. It was the fact when I first said it. It is the fact that I'm saying it now. What you are seeing acted out is the desire of the different parts of the government to retroactively classify material so that it is not made public, since I did ask that all my emails be made public, and this is not an uncommon process. So again, I will just reiterate, nothing I sent or received at the time was marked classified.
Very last thing, the Clinton Foundation investigation, the FBI investigation of the email, you're saying zero chance that this is a problem for you in this election?
Absolutely. That's what I'm saying. That happens to be the truth.
Secretary Clinton, we thank you for your time. We look forward to having you back on Fox sometime.
Thank you very much. Good to talk to you, Brett.
That wraps up our interview, an interview that was pressed for time. We obviously have many more questions for Secretary Clinton and for the presumptive Republican nominee. And as you know, Shannon, we will cover this race all the way through. Next stop, the convention in Cleveland and Philadelphia. Shannon, back to you.
We're looking forward to it. Brett, thank you.